Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michele, Desrocher, and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live in the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM, 107.7 FM from beautiful New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who have been a part of our journey for the last several years. So thank you, Folgers. We couldn't do it without you, nor would we want to. Also, big thank you to Justin Snicker, aka Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, for the contribution of his time, his music, and his voice for the intro you just heard. He's an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found on all of your favorite music streaming platforms. Also, Steve McGinnis, the artist behind our logos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Also specializes in the horror and Halloween genre, but does phenomenal commission pieces of any sort. So tonight, a little surprise. Oh, ba 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 ba!
I don't think I'm.
Look who made it! Yeah,
you forgot about me.
Woohoo! There we go.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, there we go. Now, next. We are so thrilled to welcome back Marilynn Hughes, who's going to be talking about her book, and what a book it is indeed, The Fragrance of the Mystical Rose, the revelation of the out-of-body travel celestial mysteries from, I like this, revelation, out-of-body travel, celestial, and then we get into what is the enclosed garden of God? I've got so many questions. I'm reading this. I've never heard this. I've heard of a lot of things, but I've read this book and kind of go, I have no bloody idea what this is. I suspect I know, but it's like, no, we're gonna find out a lot of really interesting things tonight. And without further ado, Marilynn.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. It's great to see you guys.
Oh my gosh. It's great to see you as well. And I mean, I've been really excited about this because everybody hears about the rites of passage, but then you start thinking about, okay, what exactly are the rites of passage?
Yeah.
And and you really get into a lot of really deep stuff with that. It's phenomenal writing.
Thank you so much.
Oh.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh my gosh. No, thank you needed. Thank you. So, hey, all right. So we just address people in the chat first. Carrie, how are you? Mish, how are you? Mark, all the way from the UK. He's a champion because it's like 2 a.m. there for him.
So he's a night owl like us.
He is. Wayne. Yep, there we go.
Love Wayne.
So we're getting up in here. If I'm missing anyone way at the top, I do apologize. You guys all have these weird handles on Facebook or on YouTube now, so I'm just trying to muddle my way through and see who is who, but I think I'm keeping up. Anyway, All right. So I have to ask, because it's got this incredible title.
Yeah.
What made you write this book?
It was totally inspired, honestly, as most of my books, well, all of my books are, but this book was an attempt to really take apart, the out-of-body experiences and the journeys that I've had and explain it in the mysterious way, in going into a deeper understanding of what's really happening in the ritual passages, but the mysteries that are being revealed to you as you're traveling through these experiences. Because as you're reading through my books, you're going through these hundreds of experiences. And sometimes you're just capturing the essence of what's happening on the surface. And this was like one of the, there was first the Hammer of Mysticism, which was, going into the initiations of the mysteries and trying to take that apart a little bit. This is going deeper into it, right? Going into the rites of passage. But this really goes into taking it apart piece by piece and
Yes, it
helping
does.
people to understand it very, very deeply. What are mysteries? What are mysteries? What are these mysteries? And how does it actually apply to these experiences that you have been traveling and understanding as we go along? What does it all mean? So, and so it's like for the reader who wants to take it a lot deeper.
Oh my gosh, you're not kidding.
That looks like a book. Sorry,
So-
Michelle, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say you came up with things I never would have thought about. But
Oh yeah, I mean,
when
it's a
you read it,
biggie.
you're like,
Biggie.
yes.
It's about the thickness of a Wayne Mallow's book.
yeah,
Just saying. He's got 5 of them.
Yeah.
But that looks like a book that I would love to read under a window on a bench in the rain.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it makes sense because that's a very contemplative kind of scenario that you just described.
I did something right.
Yeah, where you're under on a bench and the rain is falling and you are in a certain kind of mind space to receive the
Mhm.
mystery, right? So ironically, even the rain has, here we go, we're talking about mysteries. Even the rain has a certain symbolism of the falling rain, the vibration coming down from heaven,
And the
and
purification.
coming into you, and so there's also that kind of emanation that you're talking about.
Mhm.
We can take everything, and that's kind of what this is, the fragrance of the mystical rose, about how everything has this deeper meaning that many of us are missing in our day-to-day life. But the out-of-body experience has a much deeper meaning that is being missed by so many. Mysticism is being missed on so many levels that it's very important. It's very important because the mysteries that are held within the mystical experience, within the out-of-body travel experience, are actually these keys, right? These keys to the human heart, these keys to the heart of God, these keys to the human journey of purification that leads us to the destination of the soul. Why we are here, right? It's really the simple thing that everyone's always coming back to, which is, what are we doing here? Why did we incarnate here on earth? And these are the keys. What is it that we are here to achieve? And these energetic keys are proven gateways. These are the interior gateways that each soul has to subtly achieve in order to reach these ascension levels into higher understanding, into the ability to overcome the constructs that they have individually created within their own bodily structure, their own minds, their own karmic thrusts that are holding them here, so to speak. So,
well, it's tough, Marilynn, because we're this species with amnesia.
Absolutely. But we have to remember, and that's one of the things, because that is one of the things it's a mystery, isn't it?
Yes.
But yet God created it that way. So what does that tell us? It means that the amnesia serves a purpose. And so that amnesia is one of those mysteries. Why do we forget? And that in and of itself is one of those mysteries. So that forgetfulness is something that we must also experience in order to achieve that ability to ascend into that higher thrust. part of that forgetfulness is that we have to be able to bring that vision of God, that purification into our conscious bodily function, our bodily, spiritual, mental, psychological, all of that. We have to be able to do that without having that previous knowledge.
Well, I think I graduated that part now. Can I do something else?
I need to buy this
Because I
book.
forget everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and so part of this amnesia is that we forget, and and that we have to be able to then be able to cultivate the virtues and cultivate this ability to overcome these things without having the memory of the past, the memory of all the education that we receive in between lifetimes, right? We have to do it independent of that. And that's part of the mystery.
Do you think that, I mean, the old ancient mystery schools, do you think that they were taught all of this back then? And do you think that they even remembered more than what we remember now? Because we have things working against us, like technology, like microwaves, like, different frequencies that really do work against us. And I mean, you talk to people who just live like in the country, like, like the Amish, and they'll say like they're not affected the same way we are because they're away from a lot of that.
Well, I do think that I do think that basically we have all been affected by the technology for sure, because I think that any of us who are like in our age bracket or above or whatever, we remember the time before,
Right?
before everything was on, and when we could turn things off and we could actually, kind of recreate what the prophets, saints, mystics, sages, and ascetics from the last 5,000 years and probably before would do to turn everything off, go into the caves, go into the desert to actually recreate the conditions necessary to have experiences with God, and be in the silence. And so we were able to actually do that more. And we can still do that. We just have to be more disciplined now than we did like 30 years ago, 20 years ago. And so, yes, I do. And in terms of like the ancient mystery schools, it all depends on, where they were, when they were, because they were all different. And some of them taught the correct ways. Some of them taught different ways. But I do think that in essence, there was this strand of truth that was running through all these ancient sacred texts. We find this understanding of the path of purification that is in there. No matter what the religious faith is, it's all there, so I don't think this is anything new. It's just something that a lot of people don't, it's kind of like the gold in the river that people don't see. It's there. It's right there in front of us, but people don't necessarily notice that it's there. We have this gold that is around us in the ancient sacred texts that is, the final words of the prophets, saints, mystics, sages, and ascetics, who, right before they passed from this realm and went to, to the next level, their final lifetime here. They had figured out whatever it was they needed to figure out to finish their cycles of reincarnation and move on to the next level. And they left behind their final words, which carried that gold, those secrets. And those ancient sacred texts exist. They're here. They're available. I have them all over my house. But how many people pay attention to them, right? It's this gold on earth, right? And I've had these visions, throughout the last 40 years, these amazing, beautiful out-of-body experiences where I've been shown these ancient sacred texts as these steps. Each individual text is a step towards heaven, stairway to heaven made of the ancient sacred texts, these words of the prophets, saints, mystics, and sages from, all throughout time and every tradition. And it's beautiful. They, each step being, one of these texts. And so it's there, it's right there in front of us, but we forget to look, so it is available to us. We often don't look. And, the other simple thing is that it is there in the silence. It is there in the serenity, the solitude. And those are the places nobody looks now. Very few people look now. I shouldn't say nobody, but because of the technology, very few people actually take that time to turn everything off and actually do that like it was done in the past. And that really is where you're going to find those golden threads, the truth and the secrets, the mysteries unfold. And it is something where it does take a great deal of effort, time, concentration, patience, and a lot of people don't have that attention span, that patience for.
It's true.
Yeah.
Life keeps you busy.
It's very important for that discipline, that's part of it. It's that normal monastic understanding of, purification, discernment, discipline, that threefold path, and we have lost that I don't know, attention span for that, but that is what is required. It's not something where, you're just going to, pull it out of a box and it's just going to be there. You have to put in the effort. You do have to put in the time, and you do have to be patient and diligent and do those things in order for that to emerge.
I think patience is a practice.
It is a practice.
I don't have it. And Michele will say, you have so much patience to crochet. I'm like, no, I don't. If you could it's a practice, because my father always told me I was impatient, but I was happiest outdoors when I was a kid. And I think a lot of that is missing when people say they're spiritual, they're not religious. And I'm trying to have a conversation with someone who is 30 years younger than me.
Right.
And it's hard because they don't know what it's like to be unplugged, and that we were grounding constantly, unknowing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's going to be a challenge for the younger generations who aren't unplugged and need to learn how to unplug. Absolutely.
Yeah, like the millennials were never unplugged.
Yes.
So let's get into the rites of passage. For those who don't know, what exactly are the rites of passage and why are they so important?
Okay. Well, and I guess we could just start by just talking about some of them. Yeah. And it's going to be kind of like we're going to go over them, and it might be a little bit general as we do, but you can always read the book and we also have we have a class on our YouTube channel and a film on this rites of passage. So, if you want to go into it more, there's lots to look into there. It's called the rites of passage. So check that out. But, so in the Fragrance of the Mystical Rose, I believe there are 28 mysteries listed. And of course, that's just for this particular set of mysteries, because there's always more.
Yes, there are.
And so let's make that clear. So when we start, so you guys kind of like let me know how you want to roll here. But it goes through, and so we start with just listing the mysteries, I guess. And so the first mystery begins with the initiation into the mysteries and rites of passage, and that begins with, we are what we emanate. Okay. The second mystery is the thought form on the pattern of mystery, which is we will go towards that which we seek to know. Okay.
Hmm.
The third mystery, the temples in the sky. That which exists in time is completely altered by the existence of timelessness.
Mhm.
Mm.
I know. But you really have to read it to understand that. It's like, yes.
The
Yes.
fourth mystery is the ignition of the eternal and ancient flame in the breath of life. And that is the ignition of the ancient and eternal flame is made so through the energized breath of God's life.
People's like, what? I
The
know.
fifth mystery is entering cosmic consciousness or conscious lucidity. The purpose of those energies which descend from God into the soul is that they become silent emanations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the sixth mystery, initiation into the way of life or death. Choosing life as your new soul configuration and energetic emanation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The seventh mystery, rites of the crucifixion and the mechanism of mercy. The intake of the power of transformative suffering so that the path of light and sound may arise within the energetic signature of the soul.
So frequency.
Yes. Yes. And just another thing just to throw out there so people know that there are other fun things that they can also utilize. I've started producing this film series and you can watch it on the YouTube channel called All the Winds of Heaven. And I'm starting into the mysteries right now. So you can follow that and you'll see some of these mysteries unfold through that film series as it continues to get released, as I'm producing them on the YouTube channel, which is at the Out of Body Travel Foundation on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So the eighth mystery, pyramidal initiations. A lot of these mysteries and things that you're initiated in do happen on the, in the Egyptian pyramids. And so, but that's part of it. So the Book of the Eights, which has to do with the Book of the Immortals and the Book of Life and mystery corridors to transcend the seven realms of the physical world and to achieve the eight, the immortal, and to receive permanent inscription into the Book of Life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a lot of questions about magic, but you just keep going. We'll come back to them.
You tell me what you want to ask. Okay, the ninth mystery, the here, there, and the always. I'm about to produce.
That's a big one. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm about to do that one. That one's a fun one. Okay,
film.
to attain to the ability to receive the knowledge of the energetic truth which lies behind every action, interaction, or object and person.
Mm.
The 10th mystery, cycles
Also
of
big one.
time, to become capable of rendering endpoints to karmic cycles of time into birth points. Okay, and the 11th mystery, the Star of Bethlehem. Oh, the memories. Okay. To take within the cells of the spirit and body that which becomes birth itself, the messianic potential. The 12th mystery, the 7 levels of heaven. To contain the knowledge and travel the 7 heavenly spheres at will to bring that which is above to that which is below.
As above,
the
so below.
entrance of the Shekinah spirit.
Yeah.
The 13th mystery, the thunder tribe and the great day of purification. To obtain the purified unity of the masculine and feminine constructs in spirit and energize the thrust wherein karma will hit the ground to seek further purification. The 14th mystery, the frequency of Otara and the coming forth for thy wings. To obtain to the frequency of the angelic hierarchy and perform service, rendering the initiate worthy of his wings.
So alignment.
Yes. The 15th mystery, the mystery of the Sphinx, the 5 concentric circles and the loops into the dimensions to obtain the ethereal construct of the 4 corners of creation. enter disintegration of spirit and obtain the stamp of the immortals so as to commence the only true quest. The 16th mystery, initiation into the mysteries of the ark. To fix our heart on God and cease all doing, thinking, and being. The 17th mystery, ritual of the house of the mysteries and the Garden of Eden. To fix our eyes on the perfection of God and allow that perfection to energetically bring forth all which we are, both good and evil. The 18th mystery, initiations into all multiplicities and the mysteries of memory. Knowledge which extends beyond time and into all life, human, universal, and beyond, and touching into this stream of experiential knowledge expands the parameters of understanding, energetic knowledge, and wisdom accessible to the initiate. The 19th mystery, initiation and descent of karma. The karmic crust will not cease its rush to the physical spheres over and over again until the soul has confounded it through the wisdom of God. The 20th mystery, rites of the ascension. Although the only constant of the eternal is change, the initiate must unfold in his ascension as a changeless continuity. The 21st mystery, initiations into the holy energies of the saints, and the final entry of the soul into the realm of the ascended. Although good and evil exist within the program, when a soul achieves the ascension and as immortal and eternal nature, duality no longer exists. As a result, darkness becomes an absence and light becomes a fullness. The 22nd mystery, rites of the medicine and the alteration of reality. No soul may proceed forth until they have learned to give back that which has been taken from the high frequency energetic flow of evolution and to restore that which has been lost within humankind below. The 23rd mystery, initiations into the lower afterlife, hells and purgatories, and the mysteries of the redemption, Christ's life. For without the comprehensive knowledge of darkness, a soul cannot achieve fortuitously embalm the truth of the light within itself or any other. The 24th mystery, initiations into the higher afterlife, galactic heavens, and death as initiation. None can go with the Father except by the Son, and every mystery within the context of creation is held intact by this. The 25th mystery, initiation into the palace of ancient knowledge. It is thus the ancient sacred texts, the knowledge contained within them, and the vibration of their volumes, which ascends the initiate to this next phase upon the pathway into the city of the New Jerusalem. The 26th mystery, initiations into the royal captivity. Having fallen from grace in the original Garden of Eden, the initiate must restore himself to the purity which transpired before the fall of man in this clandestine epiphany of perfect, eternal, and unitive love as manifested before the disobedience of man to Creator. And the 27th mystery, the ritual passage from this world into the solitary winds. To be initiated into the solitary winds requires that the initiate be released from all attachments to worldly energies, seeking to grasp only the fine thread of virtue and to leave behind all trace of shadow in the lingering winds of misuse. The 28th mystery, ritual of re-entry into the enclosed garden of God, to shut out mortality in the garment of immortality, and to return all mortal remnants to the world below in an ascending pattern of light, locked up, always ascending, with the pattern of diminution, forever terminus. With the pattern of diminution, the consummation of the Spirit with Almighty God, complete, destination, final, and infinite. When it's good, I finish because I might lose my voice.
Yeah, I figure we're going to do them all at the same time. This is good. There's so much there. You know, when you look at like where to start with it, it's a matter of first on. I find it. My main question is because this speaks of Christianity, of course,
Right.
right? What
Yeah.
about those who are, let's say, who don't believe in anything, or who come from different, spiritual or religious backgrounds? Is this attainable for everyone?
Well, this is attainable for any person in any religion,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
And if you go through my books, and you'll see that even in this text,
Yes.
there is stuff in here, references to texts from all religions, honestly,
Yes.
because there's references to other texts to back up the journey that I'm laying out from my own experiences. And so I'll utilize ancient sacred texts to show that ancient sacred texts have demonstrated this mysterious pathway throughout the ages from all world religions, so it's not, even though there is a Christian element to it, it absolutely has a lot more than that in the book. And it's
Yeah.
also meant for anybody of any faith or religion, really. And you'll
Yeah.
find that. Yeah.
There are a lot of references, absolutely, to the different, but I just basically wanted people to know, because they're listening to you now, that they know that this does apply, because there are a whole lot of references in
Yes.
there. Even to Helena Blavatsky, I was kind of like, wow,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
did not see that one coming.
Old ancient Kabbalistic Jewish texts, everything,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
all over the place. Buddhism, everything,
Mhm.
It has to be, though, to have that understanding, right? Because everybody's experience is different based on their beliefs.
Well, yes, and what you'll find, though, I think, is because I've studied these ancient sacred texts for 40 years now, is that our experiences aren't really that different. If you go back all the way to ancient Egypt, let's go back to Hermes Trismegistus and compare him and his writings, not just with the divine Pymander, but go to his other writings about his journeying, and even the writings of Thoth, the Emerald Tablets,
Yes.
all of these texts, some of the oldest texts that we have. And then look at the writings of Zarathustra, and then go to Christian writings, Buddhist writings, Hindu writings. And it's hard to actually, I show it in my books, is what I would say. But the spiritual experiences of these great masters, if you take their names off it, you don't know who wrote it. You can't tell, because they're that similar. What Hermes Trismegistus wrote in ancient Egypt, you could easily take his name off it and think a Christian writer wrote it much later. The same thing with Zarathustra, same thing with you can find Buddhist texts and do the same thing. So it's I think that people would be very surprised if they did the legwork like I did and realized that no, they're really not that different. And I think in part one of the purposes that I do serve, and I've kind of been told that, is uniting the East and the West. But it's also, I think, over time, what I've realized is it's that I'm giving people who are not going to have the time, like I've been given, to do all that legwork, to put together all the different books that I've put together, so that people can see these things without having to do all the legwork, because I put it together in shorter pieces where they can actually see it and not have to, scour through, my 5,000 book, library of ancient sacred texts. I've done it for them, and they can take one book and say, wow, look at that. Okay. I get it. I see what she's talking about. And, and then people who want to do the legwork can certainly do that. They're out there. But for those who might not have the time, they can pick and choose different books. I have a whole bunch of books in the world religion section that have different, comparative analyses of ancient sacred texts on different subjects, different religious subjects. And people can do just the comparison between different religions and what they say on a one subject. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
and I think what I've discovered over these 40 years is that it's not that different. They actually are much closer than people think. Now, yes, there are differences. So let me say that, yeah, there are differences. Doctrines are different. But when you actually go to the mystics meet on a lot of different points. And in fact, the mystics, I think, are the unifying force. And that's because the mystics are meeting the same God, the same universal being, that they're going into the same place. That's
Right.
because they're traveling to the same universe and they're meeting the same God. So that's really what we're seeing.
Yeah, they have a bit of an edge.
Yeah, they have an edge.
They already know.
And that's part of the reason the mystics
Yeah.
don't have a problem with each other for the most part.
Mhm.
They're much more I don't know, attuned to one another, whether they're of different religions, because of the fact that there's just an innate understanding of that, I believe, with a lot of the mystics. I'm sure there's some out there who may disagree, I'm sure. But if you just look at their writings and stuff, they really do meet. Rumi spoke of this very, very beautifully, of how, they're all the same.
It's true. They all know that.
Yeah.
It's the kids down here that just aren't getting the memo.
Yeah. And it's interesting, when you have some of these, and Rumi wrote a lot about this, but I had some of these beautiful experiences and I wrote about it. There are certain experiences that you'll have these, fascinating and beautiful and profound out-of-body experiences where, when you're on Earth, things can seem like they contradict each other on the ground, right?
Mhm.
And then you'll be in this beautiful experience, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's no contradiction. Up here in this higher vibrational environment, it doesn't contradict and it makes sense, but it only makes sense in this frequency. And it only doesn't contradict up here, but down here. And that's hard for us to understand as human beings because we operate at a lower frequency, right? But you can have these profound experiences in these higher states of consciousness, out of body experiences or otherwise, where these so-called differences make perfect sense, but they won't down here, maybe.
I think it just comes down to awareness, awakening, understanding frequency. I think if once you can awaken to that or become aware of it, then you can get a better comprehension of it.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
What fascinates me is the number 7.
Number 7.
Number 7.
Number
Yeah.
7?
No, the relevance of the number 7.
Oh, the number 7.
Yeah, the significance of the number 7. Because it seems to, like you say, the 7 chakras, the 7 seals, the 7 levels of heaven. It's 777. Like it's
So
yeah.
that's interesting that you bring up the number 7, because I could explain to you a little bit about the significance of 7.
Yeah.
And in the Mysteries of the Redemption, I did a thing about the significance of the number 7, and it did go into the 7 seals and all those things, which you can check out there. And in fact, they could try to look it up. I don't know, but the significance of the number 7 is that it is the final number of the karmic cycle, because the number 8 is the immortal. So that's why the Book of the Eights. The Book of the Eights is the book of the immortals. And so numbers 1 through 7, that is the cycles of the mortal pathways. And so the number 7 is the final step on that karmic tree. So when you're finishing up, that's why, so there's all these things that are 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. When you hit the 8, you've hit the immortal. That's why the book of life is the book of 8s. When you hit the 8, it's immortal. Everything is immortal when it hits the 8. So when you have 7 chakras, see, in the out of body travel realms, you have an 8th chakra that is up here, and that's the immortal chakra. And so I don't know if that's helpful at all, but the number 7 is significant because, so your 7th chakra is here.
Yeah.
You know, so everything is all about, this is your mortal world, which is your world where you're fighting the battles between good and evil, between yourself, inside yourself, and all around you. And this is your karmic world. Okay. And that's what's happening between those numbers up 1 through 7. And there's these 7 levels. There's even the 7 levels of heaven that I speak about in one of these mysteries.
Yes.
And then, so when you hit the 8, that's the number when you are hitting completion from this realm. Everything else, 7, has to do with the mortal worlds. Okay. And then when you hit the 8, you are hitting the immortal. And it's a big deal. So you're right to be interested in that number. What does it mean? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're touching on just the core of it. There's more to it, but you can look it up in the Mysteries of the Redemption. There's a whole thing about the number 7.
There is.
So when you get to the, well, if whomever's to the 8, because I'm pretty sure I'm in the negatives, but it feels like that sometimes. Do you have the opportunity at that point, do you recall all of your experiences? Do you get to keep them?
Can you remember?
Yeah,
you remember?
You are brilliant. Okay.
Oh, gee, thank you. I'm coming back.
So what happens? We're talking about the mysteries, right? And so what happens during the initiations into the mysteries and the rites of passage, what ends up happening at some point during this process, one of the initiations is you're working towards reuniting with your higher self. Yeah. What's your higher self? Your higher self is this oversoul that is like this higher part of your soul that is closest to God, right? And this higher self of yours guardians all of those offshoots of your soul, which means to like look at your higher self stands at the top of like a triangle, and all of your personalities are all these offshoots that shoot into the triangle, which is your multiplicities, which is your personalities. Does that make some kind of sense?
Absolutely. And
so what happens, excuse me, is that when you get to this point, what happens is there is this grand moment in the heavens where your higher self, I'm getting so totally slammed with energy. This was great that you thought of this. This grand moment where your higher self descends into your physical body, and all of the knowledge of all of those lifetimes, because you have gone through years of remembering a whole bunch of your lifetimes, right? You've been remembering these lifetimes. You're going back, and I haven't mentioned that. So for your listeners, part of what you do in these out-of-body experiences is you go back in time, and you go into these past lifetimes, and you're remembering stuff, and it's bringing up these patterns and habits that you have to kind of put together and start seeing what you have as some soul configurations that you need to kind of work on and stuff. And what happens is all of that knowledge, all of those personalities, all of the knowledge of all those lifetimes comes into you, and your higher self descends into you. And in my case, the entire sky lit up with Pleiadian spaceships, because the Pleiadian star beings were a big part of this entire process for me. And so they were all present and were basically maneuvering the whole event. And it was spectacular. But part of that it's the knowledge of that comes into you. So all of these lifetimes, you're incorporating it into your physical lifetime now, so that you better understand, and you're able to kind of see things through whole new eyes. Everything becomes one. Does that make sense? To some extent? So absolutely, what you intuitively knew is absolutely correct. And you kind of like intuitively knew that, which is what I think is just brilliant, because it was
She does that.
Yeah, it was an intuitive
No,
knowing.
Michelle's
She
a
had
little
an
biased.
intuitive
But
knowing that was part of the process
Yeah.
that a soul must go through in order for those things to happen. Because those things, thank you, Michele. Yeah, because in order for that to become more useful to us, eventually the soul has to bring it all together. Right? Makes perfect sense. So eventually that's what we want to do. And we want to bring it together. And our higher self then wants to bring that higher part of the soul, which is closest to God, into us as well. Because what we're doing is, what I said about the gold, all of these ancient sacred texts, the prophets, saints, mystics, and sages, we want to bring that wisdom from the highest part of our soul that is closest to God into us as well, because our soul is trying to reach not only the ascension, but there are levels beyond the ascension, so if it makes any sense, I'm talking about when the very first book I wrote, I reached the ascension, and I've written 139 books since. And so it helps to just imagine there's a lot of things beyond the ascension that a soul can experience in out-of-body travel, and what a soul can achieve beyond ascension. And so we all look at as ascension as being the end-all be-all, right? There's so much more beyond that. So we can do so much more. There's always further progress that we can make as long as we're alive, right?
Well, it's infinite, right? So
Exactly. Yes.
So,
Yes.
when they say sky's the limit, it really is.
Well, and I always say the sky is not the limit. Because there's so much, the limit's so far beyond that,
limitless.
But this can be achieved through out-of-body travel. What about those who can't do that and they're just, trudging through everyday life?
Well, and here's the thing. So, first of all, people can make there's a lot of things that you can do, and we have resources. A lot of people have learned how to have experiences, and it is achievable for a lot of people. We have it really is. And for those who never actually have the experiences, what you find is, and I find this. So I'm just going to say that we can learn so much from reading about the experiences of other people. I still love to read the writings of other mystics. I love to read the writings of people who have had near-death experiences or out-of-body experiences, because everybody who has had an experience with God in any shape, way, or form is like a facet on a big diamond, and they're showing us another angle of God's face. And every angle of God's face is an angle I want to know about, right? We all want to understand God because we all want to be his friend. We all love him. And so it's, whether you're an experiencer or not, there is so much to be learned by even learning about the experiences of others, but also learning about mystical theology itself, which is a big part of this process. And it's a big part for people who are interested in the path of purification, because mystical theology is the science of the soul. And mystical theology teaches us how to purify our souls, to go through this path of purification, which is so necessary for us to make progress here. So you don't have to have out-of-body experiences to go through the purification process of the soul, or to increase in virtue, or to transform yourself, or to go closer and move closer to God. And that's the great news, right? So there are so many tools that you can learn from. I have a course of study that's completely free. I have a whole bunch of stuff that's completely free, but I have a course of study that is very much mystical theology based, and it focuses a lot on the writings of the saints that really, really will elevate your soul and turn you in the direction, if you're interested, of finding your way towards God. And it doesn't have anything to do with, you don't have to, become able to have out-of-body experiences. It might help you to have them, but if you don't, it will not change the outcome for you. It will help you to have a greater spiritual life. And that's the goal here. So
I think servitude has a lot to do with it as well. Being in his service, right? Whatever service to others.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think that is always wonderful. But I also want to just say, because I think it's important, especially when we're talking on podcasts or radio, there are a lot of people out there who may not be able to do that anymore. And those of you who may be ill or sick, or for whatever reason, injured, offer those things up to the Lord and ask him to do whatever it is he might do for souls with your suffering, because suffering is redemptive and God uses it, and you are serving God too in your own unique way. And don't feel bad if you're unable to do any more than that. You too can make your you also can do these things and go through this process. Study mystical theology if you want to, study out-of-body travel, do these things and see if it enhances your life. Everyone can benefit from it. And I think that's it's for everyone, right?
Yes, absolutely. You always find a way, even if it's just with a thought, with a prayer, with well wishes, with a smile. It doesn't really take. It doesn't take that much. Really,
I
it doesn't.
think people need to be reminded, especially now with the way things are going, without getting political. For me, it's always been the teachings and the life of St. Pio for me. But
I love him.
I do as well. I can't live up to half of the stuff that he wrote about, but
me neither, but I love him.
I do love him. And I really pull him in a lot, and I love his story, because it's like he was chosen. He knew and understood it from such a young age.
But lived in your time as well.
And
because you're very connected that way. I love that.
Yeah, and I am very blessed that I actually have a nun offered years ago, about 10, 15 years ago. She went to San Giovanni and brought me the letters. I have the 3 volumes that you can't buy them anywhere. No. And I have them, and I can, those are like prized possessions of mine. They were so filled with spiritual wisdom that is true gold.
I just have his book, Man of Hope, and every now and then I'll pick it up to go through it when I'm struggling.
Can I show you?
Oh,
I would love to see it, but don't tell the Vatican.
I'll show you. Yes, I got it right here. but it's just astonishing.
Hold on, kids.
Yeah, I love.
So lucky that I
love
had this opportunity to get these. These are
fortunate.
his writings that, and I don't know why they haven't made these available yet. I just don't understand it. But these are his letters to his spiritual children right here. These are his letters to Raphaelina, who was one of his favorite spiritual daughters. This is his letters back and forth from his spiritual directors to him.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Man
Amazing.
of Hope covers some of his letters, but mostly his journals.
Okay.
And it tells his story and his perspective. And it's beautiful. First, for, those of us that cannot have those books, it's a great, if you're interested in knowing more about him.
I'll probably want to get my hands on that.
It first came out in Italian, and then they translated it because I had bought it for a friend of mine in Italian.
Are you in San Giovanni Rotondo now, or you were at one time in your life, but maybe not now?
Me?
Yes.
I believe that I was there when he was younger. I do believe that. Actually, my brother-in-law is from San Giovanni di Rotondo, and his last name is Rotondo.
Okay. Yeah, because
his parents actually.
If you have somebody, you should have them go to the monastery and ask them about these.
Well,
because they have them there, I think. I don't know if they still do, but they did, But these are that's where they got them anyway.
Yeah, I'll see. Well, his sister moved out of there to Sicily, but there's just something about him. I feel like anyone who has read his life, and perhaps because, again, like Michele said, he's newer, he's closer to our lifetime. And, I know that my brother-in-law, John, like his parents have seen him do mass. I know my mother was a huge follower of his. And he struggled. And
yes, he did.
He lived an interesting life and a very, and if you don't feel like reading, you can just look up the film. You can watch it.
Oh, they did some excellent films. I have all of them.
Yeah. They're on YouTube
some
as
beautiful experiences with Padre Pio too.
Yeah.
And so I feel very close to him. I had a few experiences where he was known for being very blunt with people, and he did not hold back with me in some of my experiences with him.
No, nor I. Nope.
And so he, in one of my experiences, he was meeting with a group of souls who were in a line, he was giving them spiritual direction. And so I was like, oh, it'll be fine, coming up. And I come up towards him, and he's like, well, your spiritual practices are all right, I guess, but you really need to do a lot more. And
he did have the blood, but he had he still has the sarcasm. But I think it's also a cultural thing because they are very much that way in Italy, the way.
Well, he was very blunt, but his bluntness was, he was blunt because he kind of needed to be, And then another time I was very excited because he was very happy when I had published a couple of books that I had written, and I was surprised because he told me he was very happy I got those done, and one was Forgotten Mystics and one was Comparative Religious Mysticism. But he, the experience that was the most spectacular was he came to me and he was with two other priests, and they took me, it started on Earth, and they showed me these they were cards, and there were the 54 steps. He showed me these, and they were going from earth to heaven. And he showed me that there were 54 steps during the Holy Mass that went from earth to heaven. And it was like one of these experiences where I realized I better not speak because it is totally not appropriate. And he was like in front of me, and I followed him up as we went through the 54 steps of the Holy Mass, and then up in the heavens. we entered into this cave, which would be, the cave of the resurrection. And then the three priests were there, and Padre Pio held up the host, and the host came to life. And it was so amazing. And I was like, oh my God, I wanted to say something so bad. And I was like, oh, I better not speak, because the moment was so holy. And I'll never forget it. It was like one of the most, I even painted it because it was so holy. My painting is not very good, but
Neither's mine.
So
Neither's mine, and that's disgusting because my family built Pisa and they were painters as well. So like I can't draw to save my life, but yeah, it skipped a few generations.
Well, that's amazing. So they built Pisa, huh? Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, 2 generations, 100 years apart.
Wow.
Crazy. But anyways, you're here for your story.
Okay. I was very interested when you started talking about angels.
Yes.
Coming to the gate. Angels. Do you choose life? Do you choose death?
Oh, yes. Oh my, yes. So like when the Hada thing,
Yeah.
yes, and that was in the here, there, and the always.
Mm.
And that was, well, I'll just try to go by memory on that one.
Well, I mean, angels stand before the gates of life and death. Good and evil awaits the initiate's arrival. So do you choose life or do you choose death? Because there are consequences of both, right?
Right. And so like, what happens, and it happens like more than once, it'll happen repeatedly in the out-of-body travel experiences and in our spiritual journeys. Choosing life is moving towards light. Choosing death is going towards darkness. Choosing life is choosing the movement, and choosing death is stagnancy. Choosing life is going forward. Choosing death is going backwards. And so in the initiation step, you have, if you don't choose life, you're not going to go forward. And so then the initiation is over and you're done.
It's kind of like putting you on the spot as a soul, though. Like
Yes.
you're right there. It's like better answer properly. Better
Well,
choose
yes,
life.
and that's what happens
Yes.
a lot. Yeah, it happens a lot in the initiations and the mysteries and the rites of passage. And it happens that way, not just for this question, but for many, because you are put on the spot for a lot of different things. And it's because of questions like these, where it's like, are you ready to take the next step? Are you ready to take this next step? Okay, are you ready to take this next step? And if you're not, then it's like, okay, let's put you right back here, and we're gonna, we have to do that over. Do over, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so,
Rewind.
So in this case, what happens with the here, there, and the always, and choosing life at that juncture and choosing the always. Okay, so the here and the there. Choosing the here was to stay on the physical earth and mess around in the material world. Choosing the there would be to be in almost like the fourth realm, which is where the astral plane, where you're dealing with just lost souls, wandering spirits, and ghosts and things like that. Choosing always would be to choose timelessness. Timelessness is choosing an eternal path. So as soon as I chose the always and chose life, I'm shoved through that door. And as I go through that door, I'm immediately floating in this amorphous substance. And there's this ancient man singing the death song. And why is he singing the death song? He's singing the death song because the death song is heralding the death of my past, the death of the former path that I was walking, because I've chosen life. So the death has occurred of my former path. And the death song, he's floating in the clouds, the amorphous substance, so am I, and he's chanting, the timeless moon doth ocean sway tide, holding tight to beachhead rain, but ne'er be near the stillness of time, crossing to regions of forgetting now.
It's okay. Thank you for sharing that moment.
Yeah,
But
yeah, exactly.
is it overwhelming, or is it all encompassing?
It's all encompassing, and it's beautiful. And you're just hearing this, because what happens once you enter timelessness, and this was the moment. It's interesting you bring up this moment, Michele, because this is the moment you enter timelessness. And when you enter into timelessness, everything changes, and it changes where now everything becomes poetic. Everything becomes prosaic, and they speak to you this way. Everything is poetic and prosaic, and everything is like, it's like song and prose and poetry, and it's just beautiful. It's different.
It's frequency. It's a whole other frequency altogether. Like
Exactly.
I really do feel when you're in the presence, you're well aware just through vibration.
Exactly. Yes. So it's very much, and so then they took you in. They took me into ancient Egypt. And they put me into a particular temple inside a pyramid where they were adjusting my frequency and vibration. And then they said, she needs certain moments in timelessness, and then we'll send her back. And then we're going to start this, this new journey, and so it begins. So thus it begins, right? And, and right before that angel asks me that question, I'm starting off with this monk, who's lighting this incense, right before, and the temples in the sky. There were the temples in the sky that were, that are showing in the sky, and this ancient princess, who's in the sky, and they're all, it's all amazing. It's just beautiful.
How could it not be?
Right.
I mean, you're in the world of beautiful beings. So when we get into the eighth mystery, you talk about symbolism. One, of course, being the all-seeing eye, which some cultures look at that as a form of, we'll give you the all-seeing eye, which repels, anyone giving you the evil eye sort of thing. But what about the people who often see it as, something totalitarian or evil, controversial? Do you feel like a lot of these symbols are misinterpreted, not just with the all-seeing eye, because people think Freemasonry, secret societies, but you have like the peace sign, you've got like the Nazi sign, like the swastika, for example, the things that have just been, I hate to use the word bastardized, but it's pretty much what they've done.
Well, and I can't speak for all the signs. I can speak for the all-seeing eye, which was, it was an all-seeing eye. Yeah. And it was part of the mysteries. It was an eye which had the wisdom of the ages. It was, you knew that this eye represented the wisdom of the ages, so to speak, and it was not any of those other things. That's what it was.
Yes.
You know what
I mean? Okay. I'm with you on that one. No, I agree. I just think sometimes when you're getting into that, people in this day and age, because so many things have been reused with respects to symbolism, that people hesitate to envelop or get into, like, for example, something like that. All they see is the conditioning part, and they don't look beyond it.
Well, all I can speak to is what something is revealed to me in the mystical. And, it's kind of like, Jesus, people are like, well, well, you must have been, you must see Jesus like this because you're Catholic. And it's like, no, I became Catholic because I saw Jesus like this. So
I'm stealing that one. Although I was never given a choice. I was just thrown in the Catholic Church, but
well, I was a convert, and and ironically, I was a convert because of what I was shown and what I saw, and what I saw was that Jesus was who he said he was, and it was like, oh, okay, well, all right.
Yeah. That's a switch. Yeah.
So people don't realize that sometimes. They think, oh, you're just Catholic, so that's what you saw, and it's like, no, that's not right. It's actually the other way around. And so so like with the all-seeing eye, with a lot of things that I saw, whether it was the Sphinx, it's like, okay, well, no, this is what I saw. And so, when I write what I write, I just share what I've seen and what it meant in the experiences that I had. And so, yeah, I think people can say, and they get caught up in there, well, this is what I think it means. And it's like, okay, well, that's great. You can think whatever you want, but I can only tell you what it meant in this experience, this out-of-body experience, in the mystical state. And in the mystical state, it had no such meaning. And so, and in my experience, I guess I give that more credibility, more credence. And yes, things have been used or possibly even experienced by others in, I'm sure there's been other people who have experienced certain things in a different way. So there's that, but I can't speak for that. I can only, but there was no question that the all-seeing eye, in my experiences, and I had more than one, I had a lot of them. So that it was, a wisdom of the ancients. It was a window into eternal understanding. It was a window into ancient wisdom. It was not whatever people might want to put on it. People can put whatever they want on things, but there is an energetic truth that we understand as mystics and as people who have out-of-body experiences that is different. And it has a different value than a human opinion, just a simple grounded human opinion of what something is. And so,
sorry, choking.
No worries, I understand. I'm joking.
I'm actually okay tonight. This is good. It's usually me.
The water went down the wrong side. Why are there two sides?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So next question. We talk about attachment.
Okay.
The mortal realm, understanding of attachment. And I mean, sometimes that can be people. I once had my son say to me, I'm just an attachment to you. And I went, yes, I admit it. Right. And then when my grandson was born, I just looked him in the eye and says, look, I have a new little attachment to love. So he wasn't impressed with me on that one, but yes.
I'll never forget that.
Sometimes people, okay.
That was a rough week.
Wealth, power, greed, fame, lust, which has zero value here. So when people are we live in a physical place. It's not that you necessarily want to attach to things, but on an average, the average person has to survive here.
Right.
You need money. You need an abode. You need.
Yes.
Does it become about need or does it become about want? And where does the value come in? If you need it, there's a value to having a roof over your head and food on your table and light, heat, things like that. Right.
Right.
So how does that all come into play? Because you need to shed all of this to move up to this more enlightened stage.
Well, actually, I think that's a misunderstanding of what the attachments are, because the attachments have more to do with attachments to unnecessary things.
Right.
So, are necessary. We are physical beings.
Yes.
And God knows that. He created us that way. And while we're on that subject,
While we're on it, let's
throw
do
it out
it.
there. I'm just going to throw it out there for anyone.
I'm playing devil's advocate, pardon the pun.
No, but the people are
Yes.
always out there. I just want to throw this out there for anyone who wants to know.
Yeah.
Just always remember, God created us imperfect, so He expects us to be imperfect. Okay, so
Right.
don't sweat that. Okay.
Right.
So anyone out there who wanted to know that, let me just throw that out there. I like that.
I still have a chance of ascending.
Yeah, God knows we're all imperfect. And
Yes.
even people who may have gone through ascension processes and otherwise, they're all imperfect too. So that's just the way it is. Just going through these processes doesn't mean that you're not. You're not imperfect and you're not struggling with all kinds of things. There's spiritual processes that are going on, but anyway. Going back to attachments, unhealthy attachments are different. So let's talk about what unhealthy attachments are. So let's say you have an unhealthy attachment to vices like lust, greed, vanity, shoes,
chairs, antique chairs.
Hairspray. I don't know. Look at the take a look at things that are destructive to vices, things that you hold in excess.
Oh shoot!
Loving our families is not a negative attachment.
Right.
Okay, I buy her shoes too.
That's what I said.
And the fact that we love people and we need people in our lives, that's not a negative attachment.
Mm-hmm.
What's a negative attachment is if we try to control people too much, that might be okay. That might be like we need to work on that a little bit or something. But it really is more about like how in Buddhism they talk about fetters and cravings, hindrances. There are things like this, things that hold us further away from God. In Christianity, we call them sins. We call them things like that, But in Buddhism, I like the way they use it because they call them things that make it a little easier to identify hindrances, cravings, and fetters,
Nice and gentle. I like that.
And so what it does is, because the whole thing about a negative attachment or a negative craving, fetter, or hindrance, what you want to think about is what is it that is holding us further away from God? What is keeping us from moving closer to an all-holy God?
That'll be following habitual patterns, as you stated.
Habitual patterns, habitual sins, habitual bad habits, guilt, things that we don't let go of, like an attachment like to drinking, drugs, things that I'm trying to think of things.
Well, social media can be
it can be an addiction. It can be.
And for some people, it's a lifeline because they're lonely or they live
right.
alone. So
so it can be good. It can be negative.
Everything's balance, right? Everything's yin and yang.
Everything is balance. Exactly.
I think God has a sense of humor because before I got married, you have to go to confession when you're in a Catholic church. And I hadn't been since probably my confirmation. So it was 10 years. My priest that I had was new to the church. So I know it's off topic, but this is so funny. He was hard of hearing. And I'm like, God has a bloody sense of humor because I have to yell when people are outside that door. And then he called me around the screen. So anyways, that's like, I thought it was hilarious. But for anyone who was raised Catholic, you get me with the confession thing because I hated that.
Well, I have a funny one on that one too. We used to have a priest who didn't speak English, everyone wanted to go to confession to him.
Oh, that
Because
is
he didn't
hilarious.
understand anything you
A
said.
sense of humor.
We
Yeah,
just
he
sat
would
there and-
he just absolve you. Didn't know what you talked
Yeah.
about, so people were always going to him for confession.
Yeah.
But if you're not absolved and you don't, okay, that's going in a different direction. We'll
But
do
he
that
would
next
absolve.
time.
He would absolve everybody, but he
Yeah.
didn't know what they were talking about. So they liked that.
I wish I had been. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that's funny. But yeah, but I guess going back to it's what you were saying. It's all about balance, really. And so attachments to things, like, so if we are attached to our vices, attached to our stuff, you know what I mean, or we're attached to having more than we need. So Wayne is attached to his chairs.
No,
Wayne
no,
is
no.
worried
He's
about
talking.
you.
No,
he's
that's me.
referring
He's
to
talking
someone
about-
else.
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew it
We
was
covered
coming.
that, Wayne. We covered that already.
But that's because he's the one that's carrying them in and out of storage. That's why, but they are beautiful chairs. And I love what Michele says when she finds a piece and she'll share a picture with me. She always says, it brings me back to a different life. And I don't think that's an issue.
Oh, I don't know that is, I mean, all of us are drawn to different things, in terms of like putting stuff in our home, right? Is that what we're
comfort
talking
and
about?
peace.
Yeah, for me, it was this need, especially at the time, to surround myself from. I know it was from another life. I know it was from another time, and I found comfort, and somehow I felt like having that sort of energy around me. I felt like I was there. Like I felt that connection. So it must have reached out across, the ether or time, where I just felt comforted somehow by being within some of the space of, as you can see, even in my surroundings, the
antiques.
idea.
Well, you might have been processing something from that time frame.
Yes.
That was, at that period of time, and that was helping you to process it.
Possibly.
So sometimes,
For the last 25 years.
Well, I've actually gotten rid of quite a bit of it. So I must have.
I'm teasing her because I love her.
Well, some people are collectors, and that's also okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's time period for you,
right? Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, I have ancient sacred texts, so I mean, we all have our things, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I've got things.
I love
that went by so fast. I think it was Phil. Hi, Phil.
It's going to take some purging. Let's put it that way.
But I think it's beautiful that, like, I love the stuff that you pick up that finds you. I want to say it finds you. I always
say if it finds me, then I don't feel as guilty.
Yeah. But you shouldn't feel guilty because it's
comforting you. I don't know
that sounds good.
That's not resonating with me as something you should probably feel guilty about. But
no, not at all.
I'm not there, so I don't know. But it's there are people who are collectors, and and I don't we're all different. We all do different things, and there's nothing wrong with being a collector. We all serve different purposes, and I just don't feel that as being a bad thing. You know what I mean?
You can't see my wall, but I have crucifixes behind me, and I do collect them in rosaries. And anytime I get someone in my office to work on my internet or something, they are petrified when they come in here. So, I'm like, why are you afraid of a crucifix? I'm the one who should be nervous if you're afraid of it.
Yeah. I think that we all, I think most of us collect something different, just on different levels in terms of how much. And so like, I have quite a few religious statues around here.
I do as well, but and I have them moved. I have to change everything. I feel like there's a flow that has to move with where I'm at right now in my life.
Yeah.
I have it in the back.
I have one.
Who has a crystal skull, Phil.
Yeah, I do. And this one again found me. I did a show on Crystal Skulls and said it will call to you. You'll know it when you see it. And
Yeah.
it did. And it was just very unusual looking. And
Yeah.
it was like, you're my little skull person.
Yeah.
This
There
little
you
skull
go.
person.
There you
Yeah,
go.
it really does. It really does. These things really do. You know, energetically speaking, again, vibration, frequency, everything that you've talked about tonight,
Yes. Yes.
you know, it was very it was a very enlightening segment. I enjoyed the book.
Did
It
you?
just left me with more questions, of course. But I mean, you know, we'd have to probably at some point do a second half to it or something because there is just so much more. I was extremely curious, you know, just while we have a bit of time left to getting into the levels of purgatory
Sure.
and lower levels. So do you want to
Okay.
finish off there just to be totally undecember like? But yeah, I want to do it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. What are you interested in knowing about that?
I just think I just think, you know, when you are getting through, you know, there's the whole karmic thing, right? But then you have to, why do you have to get into the initiations of lower afterlife? Hells and purgatories. I mean, to me, it feels like we're living in purgatory. But and I understand the comprehensive, the whole knowledge of darkness, because you have to have the balancing and the yang as above so below. I work in shadow work, I work in light work. I can balance those very easily. But why wouldn't you go over there? You have to know about purgatory and hell. Because I don't want to go to either one of those. I only want to know about the things I'm going to go to, hopefully.
Well, the good news is that I don't necessarily think that everybody has to go into those,
Right.
because I don't think it's necessarily everybody's calling to go into those. It's definitely was mine. And so I don't necessarily think everybody has to go into them. I think I was called to go into them. And part of it might be just to kind of, you know, make other people aware of it and how they work and how they operate. And, you know, for just the general idea for people, you know, we go where we're compatible. So, you know, after we cross over, you know, there's an infinite number of heavenly realms. There's an infinite number of purgatorial realms, an infinite number of hellish realms. And wherever our soul might be at death, we resonate to where we're compatible. And so whatever it is that our soul needs to go to, we'll go there. And so there's, you know, so many different configurations, and my books go into a lot of different places that I've gone to. And, you know, so like if you're caught up in a particular kind of lust, you could resonate to, you know, a purgatory, but you could also resonate to a hell realm, depending on what that might be, you know, because there are different types of frequencies of it. And there are also different intentions behind it, some of which might be more of a darker, ignorant kind of thing versus something that has more of an evil intention, right? Same thing with, you know, vanity and greed. I've been to purgatories and hells for all of those things. And so there's all these different gradations. There's different levels of those kinds of things and others, obviously. I've gone to, probably the worst place I've gone to is the lower hell realm for the consumers of children. And that is the place where people who have harmed children. So you can imagine that's a really nasty, nasty hell realm.
Well, it's got its own space. Yeah, that's
Can I
speaks
send
volumes.
a few people that way?
But you know, one of the beautiful experiences I had in a lower hell realm that I'd like to throw up is when I went to this one hell realm, because, you know, I go to these places not because people are sent there because there is no mercy. I'm sent there because there is mercy. And because the moment a soul calls out for help, God sends it. And whether it's me or another person that is called to do this kind of work is sent, or an angel or some kind of other being is sent. And so literally just like that split second, just like you hear in the near-death experiences of people who have gone into a dark place after they've died, and the moment they call out to God or to Christ, Christ either shows up or God shows up, and immediately they are given assistance. You see this in these lower hell realms and in purgatories. Immediately God sends help, and that's what I do. So I'm sent in to help these people to make the next step, to go to a higher level, the next step up or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember this one experience that I'll never forget. I was in a very deep level of hell, and there was this soul who was in there, and I was very concerned about that soul, and I was on the ground weeping for this soul. And this angel came up towards me. I was literally weeping for this soul, and I was like at a grave site, and their gravestone was in pieces because they had done so much evil in their life, and it was in pieces. It was, it was a mess basically. And I was trying to put the pieces together of the gravestone, because it kind of represented the state of their soul. The angel comes up to me, and I was just weeping. And the angel said to me, "We worry much about those we've lost, who have sinned much, but God has not forgotten them. God has not forgotten them." And I knew that this soul was going to be redeemed at some point. And it was so beautiful, this beautiful angel. And it reminded me of that beautiful Psalm of David, where David said, "Even in the deepest pits of hell, you are there." And so always remember this, that God's mercy is instantaneous. And you know this even just if you listen to those near-death experiences that people tell us about, who have actually either been to hell or just had dark experiences. It's instant. Every single one I've listened to, I'm amazed by it. But it's, my own experiences as well. The moment somebody calls and they are in hell or in purgatory, help is sent. And it's just mind-boggling. Amelia, you might be familiar, like Saint Faustina, the Apostle of Divine Mercy, and how Jesus told her, I am, dying to pour out my mercy. I'm not probably saying it exactly right. I just want to pour out my mercy upon the world. Please tell everyone I want to pour my mercy out on the world. And Jesus would constantly tell her things of this nature about just how much he was so insistent on wanting to pour his mercy on all humanity, and how that was his greatest and most ardent wish and his greatest attribute, right? And we forget what that really means, and we forget, especially when we're in our greatest despair, that he stands at the ready. He stands at the ready to literally within a split second respond to our plea for his help. And he will respond. I've seen it over and over and over again. He responds, and it's instant. It's unbelievable. I'll tell you about another experience I had that's kind of shows the same thing. I was in the throne room of God, and it was one of the most amazing experiences I ever had. And I was given to follow God the Father for several hours through the night. And I was being allowed to do this. And it was I was really honored to have this grace, because it was like unbelievable. And I followed God the Father, and he wanted me to see how he did not miss a thing. and I can't even really put this into words, but I'm going to try. I followed him as he literally responded to millions of souls instantaneously. He did not miss a single soul. And it was like I was able to, in that, it's like one of those things where in that frequency, you could experience it. I would see where, like, oh, he was taking care of this young woman and her betrothed. And then he was in the same second taking care of this young Mormon family. And the same second he was, it was just all these things. And in that frequency, I could see and feel all these different circumstances in this old woman where he had dropped like her husband's wedding ring into this water, this river in front of her, because she just lost him and she was in despair and she was going to find it. And I remember these little details, but he was literally doing this to millions and millions of people all around the world in a split second, all around the world. And I was just able to follow it. And I was like, wow, in the mind of God in one split second. And he was handling it all. It all. He didn't miss a thing. And it was the most beautiful thing I ever experienced in my life. I woke up, I called my daughter, and I said, I cannot believe what I just experienced. God is real in a way that you cannot even imagine.
Yeah, you can see how the experiences impacted you. You definitely, just in the way you tell the story, you can see there's a very deep connection just from that experience, which I think everybody deserves to have.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
So, in doing so, how do they get that experience, Marilynn? How do they find you? What can they do? You can obviously you can train for things like this. You can learn how to develop yourself through meditation, and this is also if you teach. Yes.
Yeah, definitely go to the website at outofbodytravel.org. Go to our YouTube channel at the Out of Body Travel Foundation. We have, we have the books. Start with The Mysteries of the Redemption and Come to Wisdom's Door. But we also have a film on how to have an out-of-body experience. We have The Grand Phases of the Soul, which explains this whole process of the soul awakening. There are all kinds of films now because I've been putting out All the Winds of Heaven, which is really like the mysteries of the redemption is coming to life for you. And so there's all kinds of things there. And you can always email me at Marilynn Hughes, which is 2 N's, at outofbodytravel.org with any questions, even if it's just, where do I start? We do have a new readers spot on the website. If you want, all the new people, all new readers' recommendations are there. So
nice.
We have lots of resources.
Well, it's been, as always, incredible. So much information shared, a lot of emotion shared, and I thank you for that, because it just shows you're very genuine. It's not lip service. This is your experiences that you're sharing, and you can see you're very passionate about it. And the amount of, how many books did you say you had?
140. I released just for everyone to know, I released a 28 book series at the beginning of the year, complete out-of-body travel guides. That's 28 volume. Yeah. Wow. It has all kinds of things in there on mystical theology and astral projection, one of my new faves, and lots of things on, psychic development and all kinds of stuff on reincarnation, different things that you can check out that, things that, all kinds of things that can help you, get to where you're trying to get.
Yeah. Well, I love it. And I thank you, and everybody's chiming in. Everyone loves you.
Oh, thank you so much. One more thing.
Yeah.
Everything is free to download. So everything is free to download at the website. So just so you know, go there and have yourself a good old time.
Wow. There you go. And the website has been put up, and you guys, you're all in for some spoilage. Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining
you.
us tonight.
Thank
I'm
you, and
already
so
looking.
glad to see you, Amelia.
It's my honor, honestly. It's my honor and privilege. Thank you so
And both,
much.
and obviously you too, Michelle. But glad to see Amelia's feeling good tonight.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I'm here. Thank you.
Oh, me
I'm
too.
already looking forward to the next segment.
Me too.
Anyway, for everyone in chat, thank you guys all for just being awesome as always. Thank you guys for promoting the show and just, putting it all over the place, all over social media. We appreciate you so very much for that. Tomorrow night, Maxim Furyk returns to discuss his book, UFOs and the Esoteric Connection, the Altered State of UFOlogy. So we're kind of going back in time. We're going to come all the way into, of course, the Age of Disclosure, the new film that's out and so on. It's going to be interesting. Lots going on with that. But until then, I thank you all. And I thank you, Marilynn and Bubbles.
you.
Always great to see you.
Thank you for having me.
So
Thank you for loving me.
all right, everyone. Good night, and we shall see you tomorrow evening, same time, same station. Good night.